Good afternoon, everyone. You are joining us for another episode of Business Acceleration Playbook, where we are bringing you the plays that you need to win in your business. And today we're talking business foundations again, and more specifically, some key resources for your success. And I'm joined today by my lovely co-host, Angela Buckley, and guest co-host, Tim Croll. Tim has actually been a guest on here before, so some people may be familiar with who Tim is, but I will let Tim jump in real quick and just kind of give the people who haven't had the chance of meeting you a little information about who you are.
Wow, where do I start? So I come from the School of Hard Knocks. I think it'd be the easiest way. We've been through a lot of stuff. We've had a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and had a lot of really fun things, but it all comes down to the experience, and part of the experience is just how do we learn how to be able to be a little bit more successful? Basically, how do we define that success would be the start of it. And then how do we actually live into that success? So
love it.
I don't need to give you the entire resume, do I? I mean, can give you
No, I think that's perfect. I mean, that people can hear you, and I'm sure they'll get to know who you are throughout this episode today. But I do want to give a shout out to Chanel Rose, who is unable to make it just because of some family personal reasons going on right now, and some well wishes to her family members that aren't feeling well. And also Stacy Price, I wanted to say great job on continuing with your challenge. For people who have been following that, Chanel's been ruthless too, which I absolutely love. I don't know, have you seen some of the stuff, Angela? Chanel
Absolutely.
just all of a sudden, oh yeah, so funny.
She came out of the woodwork running. So.
Yeah, she did. And I've been eating it up. And Stacy's been doing a great job at kind of rolling with the punches on keeping all of it going, because she kind of got thrown into this without really much warning. But she's been great. And Stacy says LOL, but she's logged in as us. So now we don't know who she is, but that's fine. But anyway, so anyway, but yeah, great job, Stacy. You're doing amazing. And today we are talking business foundations. So we started this season talking a little bit about just some basic foundational pieces to business ownership, entrepreneurship, which is kind of one and the same when you kind of dial them back. And one of those is, what are some resources? So we kind of, after we ended the show last week, we kind of went back and forth. Okay, how should we approach this resources show? And we had talked potentially about, giving some tools, but Chanel had mentioned, and I agree, and Angela, I know, agreed as well, that there are a lot of shows and a lot of places that kind of give you some tools that you can use. I mean, like Canva and Adobe and, all the things. So we will be doing a blog post on that. That way you can find some links to some tools to use. But we really wanted to dig into specific resources that you may not know exist or may not have tried to tap into. So that's kind of how we're going to dive into the show today. And I know Tim probably didn't have a whole lot of time, because we kind of like, hey, Tim, you can be the guest co-host. He's okay. But
that's the good thing about being able to coach on a weekly basis. So I actually got some stuff up my sleeve. So we're all set. We're good.
That's good. That's how we like it. So I mean, that's the thing. Whenever we come on these shows, we do want to bring you good, valuable information, but we also want to be who we are, be real. So I So I will. Angela, you haven't got to say anything because I've been talking the entire time. So I'll let you kind of start with maybe if you would have a resource that you want to go ahead and mention, and then we can kind of discuss a little bit about that. If not.
No, thank you. One of not just one, I think a few of the things that we might miss when we really first get started with a business and a business idea is talking to our friends and family and not asking for permission, right? Like, be very careful about that. You're not asking, do they agree or disagree, but you're telling them that what I'm going forward with. And then make sure that if you're asking for people's feedback, that they're qualified to give that feedback. Or I suppose, and I've made that mistake as well, so please learn from that one. I didn't realize the difference between asking permission and asking for like truly qualified feedback. So understand that, but make sure that when you're talking that you're looking out to your local networking groups. And the way I found some of the networking groups that were around was looking at to get started, I looked at Eventbrite. I found that those tended to be truly more business oriented as opposed to some of the Facebook groups that I had found at the beginning. And mind you, this was 10 years ago or more. Anything that was happening on Facebook was a little more truly social, whereas I found more business oriented. Even if it was a $5 or $10 entrance fee to attend, there were more likely to be business owners who were able to make business decisions. And that was significantly more helpful to me than finding a group of like-minded individuals, which is also important. But when I want some qualified feedback on my ideas, I need somebody that has the skill set and knows that market that I'm trying to crack into, right? So how do you get in access? So look at your networking groups that are in town. That includes meeting up with the people at your local co-hatch or WorkX, Workspace. Look at all of those co-share office places because they are frequently run by some sort of hub entrepreneurial support. And look at your local, if it's in a city. So I'm in Columbus, Ohio. We have some fantastic resources, not just in the co-working space, but also in the entrepreneurial development space. And those individuals and those resources often also have business plan writing and then also competitions that are associated with that. And those competitions result in money. Like, read that. That's free money in your pocket. So wherever you're looking, go to your county area. So I live in Columbus, Ohio area, Franklin County, but I work in Marion County for my day job. We have fantastic Chamber of Commerce. We have leadership development. It's called Marion Leadership. But within that, there are connections to our entrepreneurial areas and business development workshops and boot shops that are connected to those chambers that result in money in your pocket. So I would say start local, start small. Those are the people that know some things and are going to know more about what you're trying to do, and they're going to know your market. Start there.
I love that. And I agree. I'm in Ohio. I'm about 2 hours from Columbus, but I agree. Columbus has some great stuff. The state chamber is great. I'm a member of it, and they have some great business resources as well. I live in the middle of nowhere. For people that know me, they already know that, but there still is a great chamber, and I can't say enough, get involved. Like, I know a lot of people try to use their chamber like an ATM machine. It's like, oh, well, I'll pay to be a member and then I'm just going to get all this money back. And that's not how it works. You have to, get involved and actually get to know what's going on. And that's how you really start to see how things work, or maybe where there's gaps, because it doesn't matter what chamber it is, whether it's a bigger city like Columbus or a smaller area like my county. It's a county chamber, which is Brown County, Ohio, a smaller area. There's always going to be gaps. And if you can see the gaps, and that could be a place where you can help, give value, you actually are making deeper connections. So I love that, actually. And I think we met in a networking group, or we met, where did we meet? It was in Covington.
It was in Covington, but I think you put on, and I think it was through like Event Space or one of the.
Because I started thinking about it. Wait, I think we met during one. So see.
And I came down to Covington. I was in Cincinnati at the time, and I came down to Covington, and we met, and we were gonna kind of like launch that speaker bureau.
Yeah.
For basically, it was the little baby Business Acceleration Playbook when
it was the precursor to the show. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that goes to show.
We spoke at the state chamber. It's been a while. Yeah,
I completely forgot about that until you were saying that. And I think that goes to show that you can make so many business connections. You can get an idea started. You can do so many things, and you just really have to figure out, number one, what's available, and number two, what's going to work for you. Because I know another thing that kind of goes along with trying to figure out joining chambers and all that stuff, you can join too many. And if you want to hear that story from me, just contact me. I'll tell you about how that went down. That's all I did. That is literally all I did, was go to meetings. And That doesn't pay well. We'll just say that. So
Maria joins chambers and
that
has
sounds
children.
fun. That's gonna be so fun. I'm gonna go do that. So then they think I know my entire calendar is full of like chamber meetings. But anyway, I digress. I love that idea, and that was another thing that I was hoping was going to be mentioned today. I also wanted to mention I have never personally used this. Now I was asked to be a mentor with SCORE, but I've never personally used it. So if one of you have used SCORE, maybe you can give some advice from that end of it. But okay, great. Well, I'll get you. So SCORE is great. They contact mentors. I had heard of it for years. They contacted me because there's nobody out here where I'm at, remember, in the middle of nowhere, that is doing it. So it's something that I'm going to be helping with, but I've never used it. But I started looking at it, and if I had known about it when I first started my business, holy moly, I would have used it. Tim, you said you did use it when you started your business, so you could probably give a whole lot more information on that than I can.
Yeah, so not only did I use it, I was actually a member doing the mentoree type stuff with SCORE in Philadelphia area. And the amount of resources that they have, they'll help you basically start. If you have no idea what you want to do with your business, or if you even want to start a business, they'll help you with the beginning part of the formulation with your idea, all the way through to the fact that you have a complete business plan that you could take to the bank for funding. So,
Yep.
And anywhere in between there. And then what they do is they pair you up with somebody that's already gone through some of that stuff, creating a vision or a mission statement. But it's a long process, and you stick with a mentor all the way through that entire process. So it's really good. Now, the cautionary tale. And in fact, Angela, if we can maybe kind of circle back onto what you just said, because I think this is really a powerful. You're right. There's a lot of tools, but there's two things that are always missing is, number one, how do you ask and how do you qualify? And I think those are the two biggest things that we probably should touch on real briefly, because for me, I know you guys are talking about Cincinnati. I've been in large cities like Philadelphia area, and I've been in small cities like Gaylord, Michigan. And the number one thing that I found is you have to ask the right questions in the right manner in order to be able to get the type of help. And number two is you need to qualify the type of group that you're stepping into. So whether it's a chamber, Rotary Club, BNI group, whatever, is it the right group for you? Or unfortunately, sometimes Chamber of Commerce turn very political, or the Rotary Club becomes like an all boys club or an all girls club, and they don't actually help you. They're just kind of like a status symbol kind of a thing. So qualify is one. The second thing, when it comes to questions, I fell prey to this, where I would come in and I would say, and typically when you first start a business, your support group is your family, right? And so you go to your family and you say, hey, what do you guys think about this idea? And in essence, what you're doing is you're asking them to give feedback on an idea, but they're not entrepreneurs. They're typically, my dad, he was at the post office. He retired from the post office. And so for a long time, he had a hard time understanding where my mindset was. And it wasn't until I was beyond my 40s that he finally said, oh, you'll figure it out. But every other time I come to him with an idea, he would say, you should get a job. You should go work for so-and-so. You should, that's his mindset, right? So asking the right questions is like what you said, Angela. It's not about asking permission. It's more of like, hey, I'm going to do this, and I'm asking for support, whether it's emotional support, whatever that kind of support is. It's just you have to make sure that you're asking those questions in the right way.
I also have found for me that it was better for me to ignore the family and friends.
I've had to do that at times, not from a mean way, but I've had to do that because I knew I wasn't going to get that. I think some of it is the fact, and again, part of it, especially with family, is you're looking for their confirmation. You're looking for them to say, yes, attaboy kind of a thing. And that's not where we should be looking for our value. And that's a whole rabbit trail that we could go down.
Because, I just wanted to make sure and say that, because that's a very common question I see in all of the business groups I'm in. What do you do when your significant other doesn't support you? What do you do when your family doesn't support you? What do you do when your friends don't support you? And I'm usually one of the ones that comments and says, they're not your people, because 9.9 times out of 10, they're not your people. And yes, we all want the confirmation, the affirmation, and all that stuff. That's great. But like you mentioned, Tim, they can love you, but they don't understand that type of support unless they've been there. And a lot of times their way of quote unquote supporting you is to say, why don't you just get a real job type of thing, which is the opposite of what you're needing to hear at that moment. So I think a lot of times it's surrounding yourself with like-minded people for that type of support, and not giving your family the quote unquote job of having to support you in your entrepreneurial journey when they don't speak that language. It kind of goes back to that love language type of thing, honestly. So I just wanted to go ahead and say that for the people out there going, well, my family didn't support me, because I know those people are out there.
So I recently listened to a podcast with Trey Kaufman. It's called This Mosaic Life. And his guest was talking about all the different coaches she had. And she has a fun coach, a financial coach, a business coach, right? And I'm like, what? I mean, I have a couple coaches. I have some trainers. You know, when I'm doing my Team USA thing, I definitely have a physical trainer. It helps me out. And they're an expert in each one. And your family, they're there to love you and kind of relax when you get back. They're not there to be your business coach. If you need a business coach, and truthfully, we all do, then
Absolutely.
you need to go get yourself a business coach and participate and be around in the right networking group that offers the type of coaching that you need, not in expecting your spouse to be your one-stop all.
Absolutely. I love that.
Can I share a quick story in regards to this? Because it's important, so important to be able to pick who you're talking to about stuff. Because I just had a business owner, and he travels around and he does a whole bunch of different shows, and he sells merchandise at these shows. He was at a show recently and did very well. In fact, he made $14,000 in gross at a 2-day show, which is really, really good for a show. And so he's really, really happy. He got out in the parking lot and he was robbed.
No.
Everything that he did in the 2 days was completely gone. I mean, you could tell how heartsick he was, right? I mean, like you just feel that as a business owner. He was talking to somebody else, and they had the audacity to say, and get this, they had the audacity to say, well, that person needed it more than you did. And I was just in so much pain for the guy, because I was just like, I know how that feels, because he's poured his blood, his sweat, his tears. He's had investments into like hours and hours and hours, and then to lose 14 grand in that quick of a time frame, and somebody to kind of just minimalize it like that. It is so important to be careful to pick this group and to qualify your group so that they understand what you invested to be able to get to that point. Most people will have no concept of that. Most families will never understand how to bring in $14,000. That $14,000 was going to support him for the next 2 months. It wasn't like he's not made of money, you know. It's like you have to be so careful on picking and qualifying the groups that you're involved with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think, and that's my heart broke, because as soon as you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, because it doesn't matter if it was 1,400, 14,000, or 14 million. You know, the point of that is that, like you mentioned, he poured his everything into it. And I think that's the big picture here when you're talking about finding your people, finding your tribe, finding your support group, you know, your coaches. They do need to be able to understand what all goes into starting a business. It's not easy. It's definitely not for everyone. It's not fun every day. You know, it's something that some days, I mean, there's days where I'm like, yes, you know, I had a good day, feeling good about it. There's days where I'm like, why am I doing this? And I'm like looking at the people flagging the traffic going, you know, they got it made. They clock out. They don't think about it again until they clock back in. Because as a business owner, it never quits. There's no real quote unquote off time. You know, you have to force your mind to stop thinking about it, which is important to do, which is a whole other topic for another day. But I do want to jump in. I do want to mention a resource that I have found very useful personally, which is the Small Business Association, the SBA. And they have a lot of programs available for all types of businesses, you know, women-owned businesses, small rural areas. You know, they have different types of funding and all that. I mean, if you've never heard, which most people have heard of the SBA, but if you've never heard of the SBA, go to the SBA and at least, you know, search around and try to figure out what they do have to offer. You should be able to enter in your zip code and find your local, you know, SBA office to be able to find out specifically some resources that would be tailored toward your type of business in your area. But I have found that very helpful myself, to be able to be used as a resource. Have you all used SBA at all? Either of you?
No.
I don't qualify for the majority of SBA stuff.
Okay. Well, and I think there are like requirements and all that kind of stuff that you have to meet, but I have found it very useful.
In the politest way possible. They really like minorities.
Yeah. Well, sorry. What else to say besides that? I've used it. I like it. So we'll just throw that up there. So
there's a lot of minorities out there, and it's a great, useful, great tool. Just I've struggled as being a white male. They don't really like me all that much.
They're like, go home, Tim. Just go home.
No.
So, sorry about that. But that's
you're good. So what you were mentioning before we went live? You mentioned another resource that you had that you want to mention, and I said I had never heard of it, and told you to save it for when we went live. What was that you mentioned? 'Cause I already forgot what it was called.
Yeah. So if your company has a service or a product that is or could be used under a government contract, but keep in mind when I say government contract, that doesn't mean that you're working for the Army or the Navy. It's not coming directly for the Senate or for the House or whatever. It's not that. There is a lot of funding that comes and gets channeled down through everything from your local colleges, your local high schools. Like there's funding that happens that is set aside specifically for what is considered government funding. The biggest challenge is most of us as business owners, we don't have any clue on how to be able to go about getting set up to be able to be approved or qualified or anything along that line. So there is an agency that is paid for by the government, and this is in every state. There's a slight difference, and I'll explain that in a minute. But there's an agency in every state that will help you gain government contracts. They'll teach you how to be able to find them, how to be able to source them, how to be able to apply for them. They'll teach you everything. And in our state, in Michigan, it's called PTAC. So it's Procurement Technical Assistance. Let me look it up, make sure I don't get it messed up here. Procurement Technical Assistance Center. So no matter what state you're in, you're going to find different ones. I know in Pennsylvania, I think they're called like PenTAC or PATAC, or there's things like that. But in every state, the procurement technical assistance centers, you call them up and say, look, I've got business. They'll help you figure out your SAMS code, all the different codes that are necessary to be able to bid on the government type jobs. They'll show you the list of them. And they have searches like if you are let's say you write curriculum for training courses. They will show you a list of all of the stuff that's ever been done in the past 100 years or so, and how much people charge for them, what you should be pricing them, like all of that stuff. It's almost stupid simple, and they'll spend as much time because they get paid by the government to make sure that you can assist and be able to actually apply for these government positions.
I do have a question. So my company is SAM certified. I did that myself. Will they help even if you're already SAM certified? If it's only like new? I'm curious about that because I think I was telling you before we went live, I was trying to determine if I wanted to stay SAM certified or not, and I still don't know. So I guess I want to talk to them to see what the benefits would be. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, so the SAM certification is definitely there, and you do have to commit your time. In other words, you have to be able to attend meetings and go to different. They actually, before COVID, they had live events where you would go and meet the buyers, and they would have all of the buyers basically lined up, and you would just schedule meetings, go from one to another. Well, oftentimes they're on military bases, or they're on some kind of like Michigan University or state of Michigan. A lot of times they set those up. But the PTAC assistant or the PTAC officer, they'll tell you about all that stuff. They'll give you all that information. You don't have to go anywhere except for that one person, and that is their entire job, is to help you navigate the government system. Now,
absolutely, yeah.
Now the cool thing is, and this applies to everybody. This is where I was able to do it too. It's not just, I mean, yes, minorities do have a little bit more of an advantage if you're a veteran, if you're a female-owned business, but they also have a significant portion of money set aside for what they classify as small business. And that, it doesn't matter what gender, race, or anything, that you qualify for because you are classified, well, I would say probably everybody listening is a small business. Because anything that is a big business, I mean, you're talking 500 plus employees.
Yeah.
So anybody under 500 employees is a small business.
Yeah, that's great to know because it can be overwhelming. I know it took a while to get SAM certified because I didn't know what I was doing. I figured it out, but then by that point, well, see, that would have been great. I wish I thought, see, you all now, if you want to get SAM certified, this is what you want to do because it took a while to do it myself. And then by that point, I was busy enough. It's like, I didn't even have time to look further to say, is it worth staying? Is it not? And all that. I've been SAM certified now for 3 years. So anyway, yeah, that's a great resource. And I also looked to see what it's called in Ohio. I don't know what it's called, but I'm going to.
Yeah, every state's going to be a little bit different, because I know I worked and I coached a couple people in Pennsylvania. It was called one thing. In Pennsylvania, a couple guys in Georgia, it was something completely different in Georgia. So, but at the core of it, if you go on Google, Procurement Technical Assistance Center, something will come up, and I would suggest to refine that search to your state. So for Michigan, for Pennsylvania, for Ohio, for wherever you are, do that search specifically in that area, and then they'll give you basically all the assistance that is necessary. If you go to, it's called a capability statement. I actually have an example of this on my website if anybody was interested or even cared about this. This was completely designed by the PTAC officer. I didn't do anything. All they did was say, here, this is how we would write it. And then they wrote it for me. I was like, sweet, okay. So now when I go and so now when I go and I talk to a bidding agent or an officer that's in charge of giving out the bids, they say, okay, what are all of your, and then they use these high level words and acronyms as the government always does. And I lay down my capability statement and it has all of their language in it. It has all of the numbers in it. It has everything, cage code, DUNS code. These are PSC codes. These are services as far as performance. And then I've got NAC codes. And then so you don't need to know all that. They'll help you with it.
Yeah, don't be like Maria. Don't figure it out for weeks and weeks yourself. Be like Tim and call your local, what did you say, PTAC agency. Stacy, if you're bored, you can look and see what mine is in Ohio. Just saying.
PTAC.
PTAC. Is it still PTAC? Oh, yep. Great, Angela. She's already on it. I'll have to look that up. Because I'm going to be like, okay, I need your help now.
There's actually even a Southern Ohio special office. So you might get, because of your location, you might get some extra help being the Southern Ohio weakness that you have down there.
We do have some weakness down here, but I'm trying to make a difference on that. And I think that that's another thing to say is that if you can't find anything, make something, start something, because I live in the middle of nowhere. We have one stoplight here, and the building that I have is a co-working space. You know what I mean? I didn't have a co-working space, so I made a co-working space. You can kind of make something yourself. And even if you're starting out of your home, there's schedule meetups, go to a local coffee shop or meet in your basement, whatever. Just make sure it's not a creepy basement because that's kind of scary. After I said that, I was like, basement might be out. But your living room, how about your living room? That sounds a little better.
Create a she shed in the back for meetings.
There you go. Create a she shed in your back. I want a she shed.
I want a she shed.
So... yeah, and Stacy, I think that's Stacy again. Yes, I'm in Southern Ohio, child. I think that's I think it's you. So anyway, yeah, I think that, if you can't find a resource in your area to work at, then create something. I think we get in they get the idea in our head that we have to make it big and grand and huge and all these things, and that's not what it is. Actually, some of my best meetup type of scenarios have been like bonfires or like hikes. Or, something that was not, uber professional business, oriented. But we still had great business discussions and we made great business connections. So I just wanted to
don't underestimate the power of that. I think this is, as far as like foundational type things and resources, that was a mistake I made at the early part of my career was thinking that I had to do this all by myself. And I didn't cultivate the relationships or the really tight and just recently, I would say within the last 3 years, I've understood the power of cultivating those friendships. And so now I meet with a guy once every Friday, and call it accountability, call it friendship, we've met over campfires, but that one relationship has been more impactful for me than literally anything else that I've done in my life.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, I think, early on for me, that was a similar issue. I thought, number one, I had to be super professional, Maria, all the times. And you all know me pretty well. I'm not what you would consider all the time. We were professional. So I thought that I had to be. So I had to broadcast this all the time, which was honestly exhausting. And then I also thought that I couldn't ask for help. I couldn't ask for help because I was going to show weakness. And if I'm trying to get somebody's business, I can't show weakness. But what I found is it's actually the opposite. You know, the vulnerability has allowed me to make better connections. The fact that I have a crazy, quirky side of my personality, some people hate it, and that's fine. They go to other people, but some people like it. You know, they like that I have a crazy, quirky personality because they have one too. And so we connect and we're able to do business together. So, or become lifelong friends. And
you have no idea how much I'm holding in right now because I'm just like,
go ahead. I was watching and it looked like your smoke was coming. Just saying, it's like, fine.
Yeah, that's my thing. Yeah. So, all right, we'll keep moving.
So yeah, but don't think that you have to have, the 3-piece suit, the skyrise meetings, all these ideas that we get in our minds when we start a business a lot of times, just start where your feet are planted, start where they're planted. And if right now you're working out of your house and the only thing that you have to offer somebody for a business meeting is, a cup of coffee and a great discussion about, planning your business, then great, because you're going to attract those people that is going to be exactly what they're looking for too. So, and I think that's, an important thing to say when we're talking about resources, because, some people have a lot of resources naturally and some people have none. And, you can still make something happen no matter where your feet are planted right now. So I did want to go ahead and throw that out there because I do know there's a lot of people out there that probably have that in their mind. Well, I would love to do that, but I can't because ... But you can. You absolutely can.
So I also, while we're on that topic, right, bringing it back a little bit to the different types of resources, I think that an opportunity that many entrepreneurs have, they start with really good ideas, but they don't always have the solid business background. So if you're just even thinking about entering in the market, spend some time on Marketplace, right? Marketplace.org. It's on NPR. They have their blogs. They have, obviously, their daily news shows. But if you really pay attention, they have that Econ Extra Credit system. And that's an entire series of basically how to get smart about your finances. Understanding, I know I talked a little bit about that with the 5S'ing and what do you need, what don't you need, and how does that all put together, and abusing a tool from a different area to use it for this analogy because it works. But they talk about all of those things in a different manner. And I think anytime we can learn about the same topic, maybe from 2 or 3 different approaches, we absorb more of it. And then you can see, oh, hey, this is going to really start resonating for where I am in my journey, understanding that some of us weren't born with silver spoons in our mouth, right? Like some of us do really have to pull it up from our own bootstraps. But is it from your own bootstraps? Or are you also going to be working and having other people, even if it's cheering, right? That networking again. There's opportunities out there. Some of it is free. And when you're done with the free or you're overwhelmed by the free, make sure you get the right coach. But I just wanted to toss that out there as one of the resources that's really accessible and also reliable. So sometimes when you have free things, you get what you pay for. So be aware. But that's a resource that's worth looking at. And I think right now they may even be running some competitions for some money as well.
Absolutely. I love Marketplace. I think that's a good one. And it made me think, I wasn't even going to mention this one, but when you said that, I also love LinkedIn Learning. I love LinkedIn Learning. Now, it's not free, but it's super cheap. And I love to get on there and you can, get little certificates that get added to your LinkedIn profile. And
not anymore.
Oh, you can't anymore?
No, it doesn't go to your profile anymore. Sorry.
Well, dang it, LinkedIn. That made me happy. It was like a game. I got my check mark. That's my form of gaming. So I'm not a big gamer. Dang it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a good perk, but I guess it's still good. They have really good information on there that's, tangible. A lot of it's like you can literally put to work in your business right away. And I really love that. I even had, I sent some stuff to my daughter who's starting to work for me some, my oldest, and just to be able to learn some specific things because it's easier than redoing the training. I was like, okay, this is exactly how we do it. So get on here and watch this. There's a lot of great resources on there. And I think I pay, it's like $49 a month or something like that is what I pay for the professional version of LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning Together. It's something like that is what it ends up being. But so yeah, so
I'm going to give you 6. You ready?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number 1 is 360 training. It's an online course. You just have to look it up. It talks about IT, service, software. So there's a lot of programs available. 360 training. Number 2 is Udemy, depending on how you pronounce it.
Udemy.
U-M-Y. Yeah. Number 2 is Khan Academy or Khan Academy, depending again. It's K-H-A-N.
Yeah, Khan.
And
I like Khan.
Coursera is C-O-U-R-S-E-R-A. And these are professors from Stanford that created that. Then you have LinkedIn Learning, which you just talked about. Skillshare is another one. edX is another. That you can actually, all of those are free online courses. And if you lose out on any of those, you go to YouTube and you type in what you're looking for, and you can get a ton of courses from there. So there's
awesome.
6 or 7 right away.
Right.
That's really great. Some of those I've not heard of. I'm going to have to rewind this later.
The TEDx, what was that one? I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, EDX, edX.
edX, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just, some of them are paid, so don't be surprised when you go there. Some of them are paid, some of them are not, some of them are free, some of them have subscription. They're all different, so just whatever works for you. It may not work for everybody. And for example, the Khan Academy is really more of your mathematics, your grammar, your like that kind of stuff. It's more educational formatted. It may not be what you need, but I use it for my kids. So
I use it for my kids too. That's why I knew it.
We use it for our frontline leaders, right? I had some leaders, they never had to write before, truly write, and I was like, listen, my friend, this is not a text message.
Yeah.
We actually have to type the full word when we send emails to CEOs. So we've used that.
Those are some great. There's also study.com. Have you heard of Study? And some of those are actually accredited. So if maybe you're working toward a degree or maybe you're going to in the future, there are some that are accredited programs on study.com that go towards specific.
There's so much out there anymore. The one, if you're going to do copywriting, Mike Kim is another great resource. He has training classes that go all the time. He's been working with Michael Hyatt, John Maxwell. I mean, he's done some of their copy for their stuff, and he teaches. Yeah, so Mike Kim is another great one. There's so much out there.
There really is. And I mean, there's so much out there that could be overwhelming, though. And I think that's, part of it. I sometimes even still, if I'm looking for something because I'm trying to add to something, I can get overwhelmed by all the things. And, when I start to feel like that, I always find it helpful to kind of just trace it back, try one thing, because there's nothing wrong with trying it. And if you like the way the layout is, if you like, the way it functions, if it works for you, great. And if it doesn't work for you, great. That doesn't work for you, and push it aside and move on to the next thing. But don't get kind of stuck in that limbo of all the choices and you choose none of the things. So I know that one person. I've done it.
So I've got a ton more resources that I use on a daily basis, so I don't want to steal the time. But you tell how much.
We've got about 20 minutes. So if we want to kind of circle through again, I do want to say Stacy's been talking. So, and I don't know who that was that came up on here because Stacy says it wasn't her. But yes, I'm in Southern Ohio. But Stacy said that she feels like she has to do the business things by herself and to be quote unquote business Stacy, but she's not 100% business Stacy. Well, I think that's the thing. None of us really are. I have, worked with CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and I can guarantee you nobody is 100% business, whatever their names are, at any point of the time, all the time. So it just, you have your moments where you know how you need to show up. And, as long as you're staying your authentic self while you're showing up, you're not undermining any part of your personality at all. We all have different layers to ourselves. I have no problem knowing if I have to go in front of a big business meeting that I can't crack my silly jokes and I have to, be professional because I know who my audience is. And I think that's the biggest thing, know your audience. And, if you're in front of people that aren't going to be okay with your quirky, silly stuff, keep that at bay. It doesn't mean you can't be yourself. It just means that be a little bit less of yourself for that moment. But, it's okay. So, all right. So, Tim, you can go ahead and, since you're the guest, you can go ahead and share some more that you had to share. And then we'll go to Angela. And then if there's any more time, I've got a few more things I can share too that I had written down.
So on networking aspects, the tools that I use for networking, number one is I typically try to network through LinkedIn for business purposes. And then what I do is, this is kind of the way that the funnel goes, is I use networking for the LinkedIn, and then I use calendly.com to be able to schedule my networking calls. So it's a tie together of networking with LinkedIn, and then I bring in the Calendly as another tool to be able to schedule and keep track of my calendar. As long as Calendly is linked with whatever calendar that you're using, I personally use my Gmail calendar. Other people use different things, but that's my preference. Another networking tool that I use is called Lunch Club. And that is every week we can get on. You can do as many or as few as you want. But frankly, you can meet people all over the world on Lunch Club and have about a 30-minute to 45-minute networking meeting. You can qualify people in there. You can narrow it down as far as who you want to talk to. And then they rate those. And it's just been a really great thing. I send Stacy an invite as far as that way if people want to get on, you have to be invited. I don't know why they do it that way, but that's the way it is. So, but Lunch Club is another great source. And then the last one is just making sure that you find good people that can work on, whether it's your website, whether you're on WordPress, Square, whatever it is that you're using, just make sure you find good people that can work on that, because that's not my area of talent. I just found people.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's an important thing to kind of point out too, is that if it's not your sweet spot, then, and you're like spinning your wheels on it, like bookkeeping is not mine. I tried to do my own books, quote unquote, tried to do my own books, and my accountant has said, never again, don't touch the Maria. So there's certain things that, if you're not great at it, find somebody else that is able to do it. And then also, like, when you're networking, sometimes you can barter things out. I've bartered things out in the past. Those are some other ways of kind of utilizing your resources. When you're first starting out, you have obviously very few dollars to work with in your budget to be able to do things. So working within these mastermind groups, these networking groups, you're able to kind of help each other with a lot of things that normally would cost you a lot of money.
It's important when we're talking about bookkeeping. It's important to note that there's a difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant. The accountant is the guy that does your taxes at the end of the year, but he doesn't necessarily keep track of every transaction that's going on. A bookkeeper will keep track of all of the transactions that are happening, and then they'll let you know before the end of the year, like, oh crap, I need to make more money, or I need to spend more money, or whatever. The bookkeeper will keep you on track. So it's really an important difference between the accountant and the bookkeeper.
And some like mine does both. So I have it's a CPA firm, so they have bookkeepers within. And then my CPA actually does my taxes. Yep. But yes, that is I'm glad that you did point that out, because I didn't realize that. Yeah. Like early on, I had no idea. And I also thought books were just like you did your check register. I had no idea all the things you had to do. It was ridiculously expensive to go backwards and have to fix all of that. It's definitely cheaper to go ahead and have somebody to do it right away if you don't know what you're doing. That's for sure. Okay.
My last one, and then I'll shut up for the rest of the time, maybe.
You don't have to shut up.
Maybe. I use this company for thank you cards.
Forward.
Say it with gratitude.
Oh.
Let's see if I can get it right there on the bottom. Say it with gratitude.com.
Say it with gratitude. Okay. I just seen hug it forward.
Yeah. So then they print my logo and the really cool thing is they give a portion of these proceeds back to whatever charity. You see on the back, there's actually they talk about the charity that this is going towards, which is Hug It Forward.
I like that.
So they actually, every time that you purchase their cards, and I've got stacks of them, these are what I send out, and then it's just blank on the inside so I can write it. But this is another great resource that I do, because it creates the customer touch and the interaction on a level that most people miss. Most people, you get excited when you get a letter or something in the mail. But this is something that's really, really important to be able to establish a great customer relationship. All right, I'm done.
I'll have to look into that company, because I actually was getting ready to order more cards, but I'll look into your company as well. So I'll have to get that info from you, because I already forgot the name of it.
Say it with gratitude.
Say it with gratitude. I keep remembering Hug It Forward, so that was more prominent to me. That's stuck in my head. So, okay, say it with gratitude. I'll try to remember that, but I won't. But we'll try. So, all right, Angela, what are some things that you still have to? I wanted to make sure that you had time to give some more of your insights.
My insights.
Your insights. your genius insights?
I think the other thing, especially around some of the networking and some of the other things we're talking about, because I have to represent Rose when she's gone, right? So grant writers, free money, right? Whatever you spend your time on as far as make friends with grant writers. They know when grants are due. They know when grants are coming up, understand your industry, and that can launch your business. Truly 2 years of funding, that's amazing, right? Like to have that sort of stability right when you're starting out, and then you have a feather in your cap right away. There's automatically, by asking for help, you're actually marketing yourself a little bit as well. You're making yourself better. You're spreading some of that money around that you're getting, but also you're marketing because people are saying, hey, I have this person, and that networking part associated with working with an expert. So look in your local networks, again, also for grant writers who really know their business, because they will help you help yourself.
I love that. And I need a grant writer friend. So if you're a grant writer and want to be my friend,
I have some names.
okay. I need friends.
In Columbus. I think actually you'd probably get along quite well.
Good. Well, then we can be friends because I have been looking for one anyway. So give me your friends. So I'm
okay. Give me your friends.
Give me
I'm
your
not
friends.
giving my friends, but I will share with you.
Okay. Share with me. I'm good with that. I share. All right. So that was good. Do you have
I'll
more?
share Lego with you.
Lego. Tim's always good for a good Lego.
Tim, did you see the Adidas tennis shoe? I thought it might show up in your, well.
Oh, is that a lot of money?
They're not anymore. I just want to say they're not any more than any of the running shoes that I train in.
Very, very true. But your running shoes that you train in have something more than just a logo. They actually do something for you. The other ones are just a logo. So
those could do something for you. It's like marketing. I feel like that's a business need. And I'm sure your accountant would be like, this is marketing.
I think in Tim's case, for anybody who doesn't know Tim yet, Tim is a Lego master, right? And Tim gets to go around and show people how to do Legos. And he's got this great activity going on with his nearly adult son, right?
Yeah, he's 19, so yeah, he's considered an adult.
Okay, he's an adult now.
Quotation marks. We use quotation marks.
Yeah.
That's how my 19-year-old is.
And on that note, if you want to see us this weekend in Indianapolis and you want to make the drive over, we'll be there. We're going to be doing an event, and then we'll be in Fort Wayne the weekend after that. So, and then Milwaukee. So we'll be all around.
Okay.
Yeah. Stacy, if you've got those links, if you want to pop those in the comments, that way people can find out more about what all Tim's doing. It's super exciting, and I've been excited watching you be able to share your love of Legos that I do not have. I do not have a love of Legos. I've stepped on a lot of Legos. My husband has stepped on lots of Legos. Legos are not something that I can say that I love Legos, but I love watching you love Legos. So that helps.
Yeah. So Maria, and I have to say this just because of all the people that are watching are Lego fans. We're not allowed to call it Legos. It has to be Lego because Lego is not Lego. But for everybody else, just keep calling it Legos. It's okay. I'm totally fine. It's all right.
I say Legos. Well, I also don't. I didn't. I think you've corrected me a couple other times, but I'm never gonna.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
Lego my ego.
Lego, thank you. Lego, I'm not going to remember, so it's fine.
Tim, I'm not going to make it. I will not see you because I will be over at the Swiss Festival. We're going to have about 15 Alphorns this weekend performing in front of the world's largest cuckoo clock.
Where's that at?
Sugar Creek, Ohio.
Oh, I know where that is.
Occasionally, if you go to the Swiss Embassy Facebook page, you will, the Swiss Embassy in the United States, right? You will see my picture in front of the world's largest cuckoo clock with my 12-foot, 8-inch long Alphorn.
We actually, our very first build on Lego Masters was an Alpen-themed clock. It was based on that.
Why didn't you have me? I could have been playing music in the background for you. We would have been.
There probably was. One of those minifigures, I'm sure, was you. That was right on the base of that. You were right there.
Just Angela. That's great. You'll have
There's not that many of us around, so you know.
Well, this weekend I will be doing nothing cool like that, so now I just feel left out, but that's fine.
You just bring your kids to come join us.
No, we have the county fair going on around here,
Okay.
which means nothing to most people, but it is a way of life where I live. School shuts down, life shuts down. That's the fair here, so we'll be going to the fair.
Good.
But yeah. All right, so back to some resources real quick. I did have in here that I wanted to mention that, so we mentioned that one. See, B Plans. So bplans.com. I have used that before, and they have sample, business plans that you can download and use. They've got like elevator pitch guidelines. They've got lots of blog articles and stuff that you can read. I like that. That was something I used early on, and I have a lot of clients now that still have utilized it. So that's another one. It's just the letter B and then plans, plans.com. So that was another one I wanted to make sure and mention. But did you two have anything else you wanted to make sure and get out there?
Trello.
Yeah, I love Trello.
Trello
Those are some tools. Yeah.
Yeah, Trello is probably the best project planning tool that I've ever used, and it's free for 10 boards, and most people will never go above 10 boards. So Trello, Trello, it's an awesome planning system. It's based off of Scrum. So if you don't know what Scrum is, you have to go look up Scrum, but it's based off of Scrum where you move things across the board. So that's how you manage your project.
Yeah, I love Trello. I echo that. And there's a lot more tools that I love, and there's a lot more that I've tried in the past I can tell you to stay away from. But like I said, that's too much. We're at 153 right now, so too much to go into today. But we will drop that into a blog post coming up soon.
Yeah, I would say ask the questions, because there's stuff that's great for services and terrible for products. There's stuff that's great for products and terrible for service businesses. So ask what is for you, like what's your service, what is your business, and then ask on that basis. And then, because I can give you like 20 different platforms that you could put products on, but you don't want to use that for service businesses. You want to go in a different route for services.
Absolutely.
For example, Trello doesn't work for me. I use Smartsheet. It's such a comprehensive, but it's expensive, but it's comprehensive. It's Gantt charting. It's project management. It's so much more, but it is worth every penny for what I do and for the type of engineers that I'm working with and my primary target clientele, right? Like, it's fantastic. Trello is good, but it doesn't meet the needs of my people here.
Yeah.
And I think that's
that's important to understand. Right, exactly.
Yeah, Maria, you use Monday, right? Monday.com.
I do. Yeah, I use Trello for anything that's personal, like Maria's brain dump. I use Trello for that. And then for anything that's like for my company, my employees, yes, I use Monday because it's project management. And, I agree with what you said, Angela, I love Trello, but it's a little bit harder if you're working with a lot of people than Monday is to be able to get things the way that they need to be. I prefer Monday over Trello for team, a larger team. Or actually even
on an ongoing basis. See, I use Trello for a one-time event. Like if we're just doing one project that has a specific timeline and a list of things, that's where I use Trello. It's because it's a one-time event.
And I do love Trello. I do. I use Trello for a lot of my own stuff, or like if I've got another business idea, because I've talked before about how I give myself a limit on what I'm allowed to work on at one time because I come up with all the ideas all the time. But when I have another business idea, I keep it there. So that way it's out of my head. It's on there. It goes on the later, board. And then if I decide later that I don't want to do it, then it can just get easily archived. But yeah, I use Trello for my own, almost like a bullet journaling style project management, but I also use a bullet journal. Again, you have to figure out what works for you, because I have different things that I use for different purposes, which I'd say most people do. And, it's come from years of doing this at this point, figuring out, okay, well, everybody says to use this, but when I use this, I feel like I'm beating my head against a wall. Well, it's probably not the best fit for me. If you're not going to utilize it properly, you're better off not using it at all. And I think that, it's okay if, even somebody that you idolize uses a specific resource and it just doesn't work for you. You just don't like it. And maybe you don't even know why you don't like it. You just don't like it. That's okay. There's plenty of resources out there that you can try other things and see what fits.
Right. 100%. When I do, I have my funny little outpouring business. My music type things, I use Oaya. It used to be Drop Task because it's just nothing that we do for that group is linear. But then Smartsheet is 100% linear. So using the right tool for the right task for the right people that you're working with, that's the hallmark of a really strong leader. Understanding their strengths and weaknesses and what that communication method needs to be. If I tried to force my music guys into linear thinking, I think we'd have meltdowns.
Oh, yeah.
But if I tried to put my engineers into what I don't even know how to say it, Oyoa, formerly Drop Task, it does, it's awesome, right? Like they would have a complete meltdown too. They're like, there's no organization. But each one of them, they love it. So use the tool that works for the project you're working on. Use the tool that's engaging with the people that you're trying to engage. Remove obstacles. That's what we do. We empower people. We understand their needs. We listen to their needs and give them the tools that will help them move forward in their path to their journey. That's like, let's sum up leadership and entrepreneurship in general right there.
No, I love that. And I think that's a good point to make because I have worked, with teams. I've been on both ends of that. I've worked with 4 companies in the past that tried to force us all into something that there was no way none of us were ever going to do. And, there's certain programs that I really like that, if my employees aren't going to use it, there's no point in trying to force it. That's saying you can't shove a square peg into a round hole because you can't, it's not going to work ever.
Yep.
So I love that. I think that's really good advice and great to mention. I guess before we go, because we've got like 2 minutes left, I do want to let Tim, I know you've already mentioned some of the stuff that you've got coming up, but you can tell people a little bit about where they can find you and some other things about you. And then Angela, I'll let you do the same thing before we end.
Yeah, so the easiest thing is to get in touch with me. I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't expecting to.
Sorry.
So the biggest thing is this, and this is my brand. It's called Building Blocks. And the core of this is to be able to have building blocks for your family, for your business, for your personal life. And to sum it up is I make business personal. Because if you don't make business personal, you're going to implode at some point in time. You can have the biggest, the best, you can make tons of money, but you're going to implode at some point in time if you don't take care of yourself personally. So that sums up a lot of it. So the way to connect is through social media. I've got Building Blocks, which is a Facebook group that's free to join. I've got Brick Dads, interesting in being able to connect with your kids a little bit more. It's a couple of us Lego Master Dads. Instagram, I'm constantly putting out different information. And then I do events, and in the events, and then this is where I really love this, is we do Build Challenge where parents have to build with their kids. And that's a challenge that they have to work on together. There's some prizes and stuff that ends up being at Brick World or at Comic-Cons or stuff like that. So I love doing that within the event arena and talking a little bit about how do you craft your narrative versus hearing the world's narrative that's often not true. So there.
Great. Good stuff. All right, Angela.
You can find me on Instagram at Creatively Efficient, and we talk about how to use kind of standard tools in creative manners. So maybe you take your strategic thinking and apply it in different tactical situations. And then Angela J. Buckley, if you're interested in all my random music and fitness endeavors, and some family things too, because I have a pretty cute kid. I'm biased 100%, but I love him.
He's cute.
Thank you.
He's not mine, and I think he's cute. So
isn't it National Sons Day? So got to give him a shout out.
I don't know. I can't keep up. I thought it was the other day. I keep saying this stuff. It's too much pressure. That is too much pressure. We need to stop this. I can't. I ended up just doing them both the same day because I was like, okay, well, I don't want to miss the boys. I already did the girls. So I don't know. It's just too much pressure. But we need to stop the made-up holidays. I can't take it. But that's another.
I only have a son,
another day.
so I'm good. But you can primarily Instagram is a great way to get me. I do have a Facebook page for Creatively Efficient as well. I post in there I will respond to you if you catch me at any of those locations. And then my leadership website is called Strength in Nature. So,
which is awesome. It's a great program. So yeah. So, and for you all that probably already know me, you can see me here at Business Acceleration Playbook on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and also have a podcast called Successfully Chaotic. So check back next week. Let's see, next week at 1 p.m. What is the next week's show? I seen it earlier and then it jumped out of my brain. I forgot. Next week we will be doing premium branding and teaching you how to stand out. That's a big thing we get a lot of questions about because there's so much stuff all the places. So we'll be talking a little bit specifically about branding and how you can stand out in the sea of all the things. So make sure you tune in next week. And thanks, Angela and Tim, for being on today. And shout out to Chanel and Stacy. And we'll go ahead and shout out to Coach Ray as well. And next week, see you at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye.
Thank you.